What's up everybody, RetroWolf88 here, and I am coming to you today with another interview. If you remember in the last episode we interviewed Sean and did a tour of his game room. In today's episode we're going to interview...
I'm JerryTerrifying. I don't give out my sweet real life details on the internet because I'm old school, I'm old and crusty.
Completely understandable. So we're going to interview JerryTerrifying and we're going to do a tour of his awesome game room. So be sure and hit that subscribe button if you have not done so already to join the Retro Wolf family. Kick back and relax and enjoy this interview, and then we will go into part 2 where we will do the game room tour. Alright Jerry, tell us a little bit about yourself and your history as a gamer.
Okay. So I've been playing video games as long as I can remember. I got a brother that's 10 years older than me. So he had an Atari 2600 and a Nintendo. And the first thing that was mine was the Game Boy. So I was always playing my brother's Game Boy, and then eventually one Christmas one turned up for me. And so just kind of my quick migration through systems. Then I got a Super Nintendo, PlayStation 2, and then around that time, like the early 2000s, is when I started collecting. Probably about 1999-2000, I bought a Nintendo, and I guess you could call it collecting, but there's just cheap video games.
Right.
So I was just buying cheap video games.
So what got you into gaming, and what are a few of like your favorite gaming memories?
What got me into it, I mean, just like any kid that grew up in the 80s, everyone had Nintendo, right? You know. You go over to the babysitter's house, they're all sitting around playing Mario. You go over to a friend's house, they're sitting around, like some kid down the street had pole position on the Atari, and that was just what kids were doing. And then having the Game Boy, I liked that because the two-player games, the link cable.
Yeah.
So like kids in my neighborhood would, like me and the kid next door would play Double Dragon.
Nice.
You know, that was... I don't know, I liked that. It's cool being able to play two-player, have your own screen.
It was, yeah.
And then, you know, you're talking like, oh, have you played this, we played that, so you just get more and more interested in it. I'd say I wasn't really, like, super serious into games until I was an adult, really, like when I was, like, 18. And started making money, could go out and buy all these cheap video games, and having a little bit more free time. I don't know, it just sort of snowballs from there. And then once you start collecting, you're like, oh, let's buy this system. Well, I've got to have a nice collection for it. My aunt and uncle, they had a Sega Saturn, and that's where I discovered Panzer Dragoon. I remember going over there and playing that at my aunt's house. That was a lot of fun. I actually tricked my dad I got my dad to sit down and play video games with me a couple of times. He was never into it. And Vigilante 8 on the PlayStation, we played that quite a bit. And, boy, what's it called? Future Cop, LAPD. There's like a real-time strategy. There's the single-player mode and then this real-time strategy two-player mode. It's really weird. So like you build bases and send robots and try to take over area, and we would play that. That's probably one of my favorites. I remember playing Empire Strikes Back on the 2600 with my brother. Trying to tie up the AT-ATs with the Snowspeeder or whatever it is. The first time I played an online game, that's a good one. I went over to my brother's house because he had a PS2, the Ethernet adapter.
I remember that.
High-speed internet, and playing Metal Gear Solid 3's online mode. That was my first online. Actually, I guess Diablo 2 was. I guess Diablo 2 was. But my first online console game, the one that resonates with me, is Metal Gear Solid's my favorite series. So getting to play that online and... that was cool. Lost Vikings. Used to play Lost Vikings with the kid next door. That's
a good game.
That's my second favorite game. Great two-player mode if you ever get anyone to sit down and...
Never tried the two-player mode. So name a few of your favorite games of all time and why.
Okay, so I just mentioned Metal Gear Solid's one of my favorite series. I would rank my favorite one as Metal Gear Solid 2. Kind of a controversial opinion. There's that's either love it or hate it. And I played Metal Gear Solid, loved it, and then Metal Gear Solid 2 like took everything great about that and just like outdid it.
Exactly.
And then like every character double crosses someone at least twice. And that is a statement from Hideo Kojima. It's like, oh wow, that's nuts, and just some great dialogue, great action. You know, I like action movies, so like a lot of cool action scenes.
The cutscenes were pretty awesome in those games.
Real mind blowing stuff. And day when that came out. My next favorite game, like since childhood's Lost Vikings. But that's one of the series that I really love and real excited about. Action platformer puzzle game with great humor. I guess like when we get to the part where I start pointing at things and talking, you'll see that a lot of the games I like is because of the sense of humor.
Right, yeah. That makes sense.
Bomberman. I have a Bomberman tattoo. I got one degenerate tattoo and it's a Bomberman. Bomberman is one of my favorite things because anyone, even if you don't like games, you can say, hey, let's play this. Yeah. 2 minutes, they're in it, they love it, they're having a great time. You can have all the Bomberman experience in the world and still blow yourself up.
That is true. Very, very chaotic game sometimes.
So that's like the only real, I guess, party game that I've gotten into. But as we look at some of the collection in more detail, you'll be like, that's a lot of Bomberman. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Let's see, Dragon Quest. Dragon Quest's the other one that I've been getting into lately. Classic RPG series. All the tropes, Dragon Quest invented it.
Yep, that's true.
You know, you're the 16-year-old Destiny, small town, like all of that, and House of the Dead is another series. I'll stop there. Those are my main series that I get into.
That's a nice little variety of games.
Very different from each other. It's kind of all over the place.
So I gotta ask you, okay, so with you being a Metal Gear Solid fan, what did you think about Metal Gear Solid 5?
Wasn't wild about it.
Yeah.
I think part of it's just I'm not wild about where the industry's going in general.
Yeah, right.
So parts of it are great. The gameplay's phenomenal.
Yep.
The different storytelling where you have to like find files and like sit down and listen to it. I liked the cutscenes. I liked the over the top, very Japanese goofy humor. Like Johnny Sasaki peeing, like being a theme throughout the series. Just some of the weird stuff that's in Metal Gear Solid. So I mean, the gameplay was really good. It was a beautiful game, but it just didn't feel like Metal Gear. I liked Metal Gear Rising more.
Oh yeah. The action game.
The Platinum Games developed spin-off. Where you just got to be a robot with the ninja sword. Right.
Awesome.
It's hard to mess that up.
It looks good though.
I'd recommend it. I mean, you can find it for like $2 anywhere.
Now, the reason I wanted to ask you about Metal Gear Solid 5 is because I didn't play it a lot. I maybe played it about 5 hours, but I have to say, man, the way that game opens up, like the first hour, is super intense.
Yes.
God, it's
and
intense,
then it goes
man.
away.
And then it goes away.
And then the rest of the game is. Now, see, I really liked Peace Walker on the PSP. I've sunk hundreds of hours into it playing the co-op. 4-player Metal Gear cooperative, not just like most of the sneaking missions are 2-player, but then there's like boss fights that you can have up to 4 players.
That's cool.
So it's kind of like Monster Hunter,
right,
but with Metal Gear, and it really worked. And it has like a mission structure where you're like going on little bite-sized missions. And then Metal Gear Solid 5 is like the big console evolution of that, minus what made it cool, co-op. The plot didn't really blow my skirt up. That opening sequence, escaping the hospital, it's real trippy, it's real wild, pure Kojima, that was great.
Yes.
They didn't finish the story.
Really?
Right? It's like there's a missing mission. And then when I really started to slog through it, there's like part of the game where you have to go do a certain amount of missions before the next part of the story unlocks. And I had to do the same mission again. And I was like, this sucks. I wasn't paying attention, so I mean, it's probably I could have chose other missions to do. But like I was going along this certain path, going maybe too linear, and then it's like, wait, I already did this mission. I already snuck into the space, did this exact same thing, triggered this exact same fight, and it's like, I mean, I saw it through to the end, but I've played Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2 at least 50 times. Yeah,
I think my favorite Metal Gear Solid game personally is probably the Twin Snakes for the GameCube. No, dude, I love the Twin Snakes, man. I played
PlayStation original 100%, and I'll tell you why. Right now.
See, here's the thing. I've never played the PlayStation original.
They had a different director. He's a Japanese action movie director, so it's real extra over the top. Solid Snake does a backflip off a missile. Okay, I'll allow it. That's fun. But they ruined this one scene that's important. This is the only time I ever got spooked out during a video game. The first time you really encounter, I guess it's the second time you encounter Gray Fox. You're going through the hallway and there's all the dead guards. And then one of them crawls around the corner. It's like, it's a ghost. Okay? It's got this spooky music. I was playing that game. I was like maybe 16 years old. It's like 2 in the morning, Christmas vacation. Like that was spooking me out. The sound effects. You get around the corner and you see a guy just sort of midair, right? Like he's been impaled, but he's in midair. The GameCube version, he doesn't have a stealth camo on. You see clearly, clearly a robot ninja with a sword, and they're saying it's a ghost. So they that scene. They took out my favorite line. They rewrote the script. When you're fighting Vulcan Raven, they're talking about the Alaskan Eskimo Olympics or whatever. And Solid Snake, it's just a throwaway line. He says to Vulcan Raven, "I bet you're a real threat in the muck-tuck eating contest," because Vulcan Raven's a big guy. They took that line out. So it's like little things. And then they break the gameplay. The way the levels were designed assumed you did not have the ability to shoot in first person. So the Revolver Ocelot fight is a joke. You just click the shoulder button and just pew pew pew, it's done. Whereas you used to have to like chase them around. So they break a lot of the gameplay. They remove some of my favorite lines. So it's...
I guess for me, since I never played the original, I wouldn't have
You're
noticed.
a GameCube guy.
Yeah, I wouldn't have noticed any of those things.
If that's your first experience, that's what you're going to get. But I think that like the way it feels different than if you played 1, 2, and 3 on the PlayStation. Because it's directed by someone different.
Alright, so looking back here at your wall of consoles, right? What is your favorite console of all time, and is it sitting here today?
Like if really pressed, I'd say Sega Saturn.
Okay.
Right here. This is the keyboard adapter. So a regular, the PS2 keyboard will plug into that. I got into it. I bought it to play Panzer Dragoon 1 and 2, and then I found out about the Netlink, which is a dial-up modem that goes into the card slot. And then I started buying the Netlink games. There's 5 of them. Bomberman, Saturn Bomberman, Duke Nukem 3D, Virtual On, Netlink Edition, and then 2 racing games. Daytona USA is the rarest Saturn game, I believe. It's very expensive. The Netlink version, and then Sega Rally Netlink Edition. I have all of those except for Daytona. That lets you directly connect to another Saturn. So this is old guy stuff we're talking about. This thing, you'd plug it into your phone line, like a real phone line, and it would make a phone call to another person's Saturn.
Wow.
And establish a direct connection. So there's no lag. You didn't have to connect to a server. So if you have an analog phone line, which you probably don't, this thing still works and it's free.
Wow.
Like it just, you'd have to pay the long distance phone call. Like if you have a landline phone through your cable company, that will not work. It screws up the timing or something. But so I got into Saturn because of that. I got the video CD card, so I watched Silence of the Lambs and Clueless on my Sega Saturn. There's a version of the Saturn that has a GPS. It has an LCD screen, a GPS antenna, and like a software CD of like 1995 Japanese streets.
Wow.
That's one of the things I'd love to have is just like an oddity. So there's a floppy disk drive you can save games to. Like there's just so much stuff. Like this is, you talk about ahead of your time. Navigation device, movie playback, CD. Like what doesn't the Saturn do? It's got you can view picture CDs.
Really?
Remember, like this is another old guy thing. They used to put, you could get your photos developed and they'd put them on a CD.
Yep, I used to do that.
That card in the back will let you look at those. Like, what doesn't that do? It does everything a modern console does.
Wow.
In 1995.
Wow. I think you sort of answered the first part of this, but when did you start collecting and how did you build this awesome collection?
I have every game from when I was a kid. Like not every. I sold a Game Boy and a few PS1 games once because I was a stupid like 20-year-old.
Right.
Instead of just like waiting to get another paycheck or something. I don't even know what I wanted. But around 1999, 2000, I got a Nintendo. $20 the copy of Zelda. I wanted to play Zelda. And then the store I got that from back then, the cartridges, Nintendo $2, Super Nintendo $3. Wow. So I just started buying games. It's like, oh, that looks cool. You know, I never really resell things because I might want to play that again.
Yep.
Don't know when, don't know, so I just throw it on a shelf. And before you know it, you got a collection that, you know, looks pretty impressive. And I'd say maybe 2006, I got a decent paying job and I was single. So, I mean, I just had money.
Yeah.
So then I got my eBay and Amazon addiction. And, you know, like my strategy was I would just go through my wish list on Amazon and like there's something like $2 to $5, right? This stuff was cheap in 2006.
Yep.
So, yeah, I'd be like, oh, that Nintendo game looks neat. Click, click.
Yeah.
And then I just always have a package showing up in the mail.
Nice.
And then, you know, Craigslist was a thing, and there's an app that I've used a little bit.
Is it maybe OfferUp or Let Go?
Let Go.
Let Go, yeah.
Then I learned how to yard sale.
Yes.
About 4 or 5 years ago, and then the collection really started picking up. And then you start finding boxes of stuff for like, you know, $10, $20.
Yeah. Obviously, you've been collecting for a while. You know what you're doing. You know the best way to build a collection. So what tips do you have for new collectors or people that are wanting to get into collecting? Like you mentioned yard sales, for example. What kind of tips do you have for people to help them build their collection?
Don't. Stop inflating the prices of my video games. YouTube and Instagram has been the biggest curse of my life. I used to get this trash, like, paying more than $1 for a Nintendo game makes me mad. Right? Like, it just makes me mad.
Yeah.
And then people come back and, well, this is a $45 Nintendo today. I'm like, get the hell out of here. I'll wait till some mom gives it to me for 50 cents. I'll find her. She's out there.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, if you didn't grow up with this stuff and you are interested, I'd say spend some money on the hardware and get flash carts, the EverDrives. I have them. They're convenient. You don't have to swap your cards. Effectively the exact same experience.
Right. It's not technically emulation, is it?
No.
Yeah.
It's just what the data is contained on. Right. So it's the real hardware. It's just the software is on. You know, if you're looking at a picture, what's the difference if it's saved to a floppy disk CD? It's the same bits and bytes.
That's true. Yeah.
So the hardware, if you really want that legitimate feel, because I hate the little mini consoles. I have them.
Yeah.
But
it just doesn't. It doesn't feel.
It's not
the
the same.
Yeah.
The timing's off.
Yeah.
I have the CRTs. Like, I got Demon's Crest for Valentine's Day because my woman's awesome. So I got Demon's Crest for Valentine's Day, and I was playing it over here before I'd moved in on an HD TV, and that's getting my kicked. I didn't know what the hell was going on. So I got home and I played it on a CRT, and I played all the way through it to the final boss without dying. And I was like, well, what's the difference here? And it's like, oh, this is that input lag I keep hearing about. Yeah. So now I try to be a purist and have things. But my advice is knock it off. Quit paying for things. Quit paying full price for things, everybody. You can find these things cheap if you keep at it. Like the tactic for eBay is keep looking until you find it at your price. Bid low, bid often. I won a bunch of Saturns for less than $10 because I just threw out $10 max bids and no one else was looking that day. So stuff like that. Learn how to garage sale. My biggest regret is I tried garage selling in the early 2000s, but I didn't know how. And the big secret is talk to people. Ask for what you want. Hey, do you have this? And be persistent. But the real deal advice is just stop. Knock it off. Quit inflating the prices. I'm ready for this bubble to burst.
Yeah. So what are some of your goals as a game collector, or some like holy grail items that you want for your collection?
At this point, I'm interested in like rare hardware, or just like weird things. Not necessarily that it's rare, just weird things. Like there's, it's kind of like the SG-1000, which is the first Sega console, which is basically a ColecoVision.
Yeah.
Like they're pretty much the exact same thing. And this is called the SC-3000. It's a home computer that plays the SG-1000.
Really?
Very expensive. No one needs this. I don't need this, but I want it. Just because it's neat. It's a weird little thing. I would love to have a SG-1000 and a SG-1000 Mark II just to have, because I like Sega stuff. My holy grail game, Lucien's Quest for the 3DO. It's a strategy RPG. I've played a burnt copy of it, love it.
Never heard of it.
No one has, and that's why no one bought it, and that's why there's no copies out there, and they go for like, last time I looked on eBay 10 years ago, people were asking over $1,000 for it. Jeez. There's some jerk on Instagram that has 2 copies, and in my book, having 2 copies of that makes you a jerk. Well, F you, buddy. Let one of those go. Let someone else have it. You don't need to hoard that. But I played through a burnt copy of it, and it's a real interesting game. well written for a 1995 RPG, fun characters, decent gameplay. It's like kind of a light strategy RPG, like your position in the field matters. There's a werewolf character, so like as you walk across the field, there's a night-day cycle, and then at night he's a werewolf and he's stronger. Just stuff like that.
That's pretty cool.
So that's probably my holy grail item there. There's a couple other titles I'm looking for, like on the Genesis, pretty much anything made by Renovation. I have none of their games, but I want all of them. So stuff like Valis, stuff like Arcus Odyssey, Whip Rush, Gyari's. On the Saturn, Die Hard Arcade, burnt copy. This has got a mod chip in it, so, and a region switch, so I just like burn a lot of Saturn games, so they're expensive. Die Hard Arcade is one of them, and House of the Dead. I'd like to have a real copy of House of the Dead because I love that series.
Yeah. So, so you've been doing YouTube for several years now. So what kind of led you into YouTube, and what inspired you to kind of start a YouTube gaming channel?
Man, in like 2006, before YouTube was owned by Google.
Right. Yeah.
I signed up for it, and I used to just upload stupid videos. Like I would just turn on this crappy digital camera, and I just whatever I was thinking at that time. Video vlogging was the thing. So I would just say dumb. And no one watched it then either. And then one day I made a video about the Netlink because I was excited about the Netlink. It's the worst video you've ever seen. But I was interested in it, and then people started watching it, leaving comments, asking questions. It's like, oh, so people care about video games.
Right.
So who knows how things could have turned out if back then I applied effort into editing, like strategized, had an upload schedule. Like one of the things I like about your channel is that you clearly care about this. You're interested. You went on a road trip to come to some weirdo's house and talk about Nintendo tapes. And I like that energy. You know, I wish I had that much gumption for this hobby. Every video I make is because I'm interested in it. I think YouTube community was destroyed by ads.
It was.
Once people started doing it for money, it just the motivation for hitting record changed. Just people became catty, and just trying to screw people. It just became a way different thing. It used to be comments used to be fun. It's like, oh, they like to talk about the Netlink. Me too. Here's my comment. And now it's just like, yeah, you got a better collection.
Exactly.
Your opinion about Sega sucks. So I mean, there was no thought about it. It was just, I was uploading stupid videos. One day I talked about something I was interested in, and then other people are interested in it. It's like, well, I like video games. I know about video games. Let's do this. And talk about the things I'm excited about, like the Netlink. That most people don't know what it is. They don't know how it works. If they do talk about it, the information's bad. It's wrong. So that was really the thing that set me down the path of talking about video games on YouTube.
Cool. Your Mondo Cool TV series.
Yes.
Awesome. I love it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Seriously, it's
You're
really
in a
good.
very exclusive club of people.
No, it's really good, man. I think more people should watch it. If you're watching this, go to JerryTerrifying's YouTube channel. I'm going to leave a link to it in the description down below, and check out his Mondo Cool TV series. It's really good, high production values, and you'll learn a lot. I guarantee you will learn something that you didn't know. I learned a lot of stuff I didn't know just from watching the episodes that are out there. So how did that come about? So like how did that get started, and what's your kind of creative process behind that, without giving away any secrets, of course, and also the name Mondo Cool TV? What's the story behind that?
That's a lot. So the thought process behind Mondo Cool TV was about maybe 2010 or so. Everyone was putting like time and money into their YouTube videos. I had plenty of time, not a lot of money. So where there's a will, there's a way. And I thought, wait, I had worked on cable access television before in the 90s with a buddy. Me and my friend went through this process to start our own show. And you had to volunteer on someone else's show and like run a camera. So I was on a local TV show with local legend A Ghastly Ghoul. So Dayton is a horror town, right? The people here are weird. Like Halloween is big. I don't know what it's like in Tennessee, but here Halloween is a big deal. People are spooky. They love their horror movies. You can't spit without hitting someone that wants to be a horror movie host. And that's like your Elvira, your Joe Bob Briggs. stuff like that, right? So A Ghastly Ghoul is our cable access TV version of that.
Okay.
He's an insane, crazy person. So I had done that before, right? Now, when I was saying, how am I going to get video production without having money for a PC, without having money for a camera? Oh, let's check out the cable access place. So they have like real nice cameras that you can check out, and editing rooms with like 20 computers in there, and you just go in and you can run all the Adobe editing, this and that. And they'll teach you how to do it. They'll help you.
Really? Wow.
So, and then your show you can air on TV. Now you don't have to use their crap, so I don't use their crap no more. I never did. I tried to once, and I was like, I couldn't figure out their camera. It's like it's higher level than what we're using, the DSLRs. It's like a TV camera.
One of the big ones.
Yeah, that's where the TV part comes from. The Mondo Cool. I have a podcast, but I haven't released an episode in years just because I haven't. I've got like 3 finished episodes that I just haven't uploaded. I don't know. So that was called Mondo Coolcast. So Mondo Coolcast got the TV show Mondo Cool TV. It's a bad line from Dragon Ball. I believe you're a Dragon Ball fan.
I am,
so there's a scene from the dub where they're on planet Namek and they're talking about the rejuvenating tank or whatever. And Krillin's like, whoa, Mondo Cool! And then Vegeta's like, that's right, boys. Mondo Cool. So I was just like, I wanted to make a podcast, and it goes back to the Netlink. I'm listening to this retro game podcast in like 2009. They're talking about the Netlink, and it was like all wrong information. And I was like, I can do a better podcast than these assholes. So I fired up my microphone, released an hour episode, and just talking about the Netlink. And I was like, what am I going to call it? Mondo Coolcast popped into my head. And it's based on that bad dub line from Dragon Ball Z. Any like production secrets, don't be a perfectionist.
Yeah, that's true.
Just because I've been working on this for so many years, I got like 5 episodes out because I want it to be exactly as I envision it. There are some scenes from when I was big fat guy. I don't know if you've noticed those yet. Like, so I started producing segments, and then I was like, I'll just put it together when I get done with the planned episode. So there's like one where I fix a battery for a Game Gear, and I'm like fat as. And I don't mention it in the episodes. Like the host segments, I'm like 200 pounds smaller. And I'm just like, someone notices, whatever. I don't care. I think it's more funny mystery than anything. But that's just because I've been working on it for so long. And wanting the episodes to be perfect. And it's hard to find time in the editing chair.
So when can we expect to see another Mondo Cool TV episode?
I've got a finished episode. All I got to do is click public, so I'll put that out. Around the time this comes out, I'll just make that one available.
That would be awesome. That's cool. Everybody be on the lookout for that. So, because you do have quite a bit of experience with YouTube and kind of making videos and stuff, do you have any tips for new YouTubers such as myself? Like the tip you gave me, slow down when you're taking B-roll footage. That was a good one.
You can never go too slow on the B-roll. You can always speed it up. You slow it down, it looks like ass. Just do it. Just start. You'll get better.
That is true.
Every video you will learn something. You'll get more and more comfortable talking on camera. Oh yeah, I mean, I used to hate sitting in front of the camera.
Me too, man. Me too.
It's trash. But eventually you just stop caring.
Yeah, you do. You're just like, whatever.
Yeah, you edit enough of your podcast. I used to hate hearing my voice.
Yeah, me too.
And then you edit enough of your podcast, and it's like you don't care anymore. It is what it is. So just do it. Just start. Every video you'll learn something. You'll get better. You'll get more efficient. You'll always have time to buy new toys. Like what I'd recommend for you, since you're aggressively doing this, get a DSL slider, a camera slider. So like you're trying to be steady, right? It's going to be shaky. It's
going to be shaky,
right? So it'll connect to your tripod, and then you can slide your camera smoothly. And you can set it, so it goes up and down, towards something. So then you just like get different angles of B-roll. Like get B-roll of everything 2 or 3 times, different angles. And make lots of work for your editor to sort through. That's like if you have an editor, you want to make sure you have as much work for them
to work with
as possible. Just to be malicious. Just to give them something to waste time on.
What do you think about that, editor?
If you're a new YouTuber, watch a video with a notebook or note app on your phone, whatever you kids use these days, but an ability to make notes. Watch a video and say, oh, I liked that. How did he do that? That's how I watch videos.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a couple of my interviews that are in Mondo Cool TV. The one at the toy store, I'm really proud of that interview. I think it looks really good. And that was just, I was thinking of other videos I've seen.
Right.
And like I watched, you know, I like documentaries. So I do, like, I don't do the face-to-face interview. I like to be behind the camera.
Yeah.
I like the subject to be the subject.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But that was a conscious decision because watching documentaries, oh, how do they do this? Okay, so they got the guy here and they got this much screen space and then the guy's standing over here asking questions. So I just think about those things when I watch other people's videos and then, you know, try your best to ape it.
Right,
You know?
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's the only advice I have, but I'm no master cinematographer by any stretch of the imagination.
There you go. Some good tips. Thanks for that, man. As I look at your setup here, you told me something that kind of shocked me. You told me that all of these are ready to be played. So my question for you is, how in the hell did you set all this up? What do you do for cable management?
Oh,
You know?
there is no management. This is just an absolute loony bin. The power cords are relatively under control.
Yep.
So I've got shelf rails, and then I zip tied these power strips to them. So I kind of just have the cable going to the system, and then the access cable, wrap it up, rubber band it off, and kind of tuck it behind there. Video cable management is a nightmare. I do have to swap video cables. I used to have it set up to where I didn't have to do that, but once you go through a certain amount of splitters and switch boxes and capture cards, the video starts to look like
Yep.
and it'll mess with the timing on light gun games.
Oh,
so I really like light gun games, so I was just like, man, I'll label my video cables. You'll see like blue masking tape on them, and so then I'll just, so I'll swap. So it's mostly ready to play. So if I want to play something, you just turn it on, and then find the right video cable and jab it in the right video cable slot. And then I like to keep it turned off because some of these are Japanese systems. So the PC Engine Duo, and Neo Geo, those are all Japanese. This is Japanese and not plugged in. I use this most of the time, but that looks awesome. I love the color of this. Like, this is just nice to look at. But the built-in cables, this is how far away you can get.
You're kidding me. Wow. Wow. That's a
There it is.
Wow.
And it comes out the back. They're thinking of everything. It was designed for Japan, where this room is the size of a Japanese house for a family of 4.
Okay.
Right? Like, they're very small spaces. They expect you to be sitting right here. But because these are Japanese, the voltage is a little different. America's 110, Japan's 100. So I don't want them to be sitting there getting hot and like burning out. So I keep everything powered off, except for the HD consoles. They're always on. Everything on the top row, except for that 60 gig PS3, is on all the time because Netflix, DVDs, Blu-rays, like that.
Right.
So I mean, it's mostly ready to go.
Do you have anything else to say to the audience? Anything else you want to say before we jump into the game room tour?
I was excited to do this. It doesn't take a lot of prodding to get me to talk nonstop about all this crap I bought. That's part of the joy of having something like this, and none of my friends play video games.
Right.
So like they could give a shit less about any of this. So it's like mostly internet friends and Instagram where I get to scratch that itch and talk about stuff that I am an enthusiast of.
Cool.
It's nice having you over to come and look at some of this junk.
Yeah. I appreciate you doing the interview, man.
Not a problem, man.
So
Appreciate it.
we are going to jump into the game room tour. So if you enjoyed part 1, please be sure and hit that like button. And let us know in the comments down below if you have any additional questions for Jerry. And if so, I'm sure he'll be happy to go out there and answer them for you. And stick around for part 2 where we do a game room tour. You're not going to want to miss that. So we will see you in part 2.